whatever. I'm still fascinated that people aren't jumping out of the woodwork trying to figure out why this is. So part of our sitting down today, we're gonna push this out to as many people as we can, and try to figure out get some people looking at this.
Yeah, and that I appreciate that. And you know, it's back to the shooting part of it. Being a sponsored shooter, being someone that shoots every day. My main focus is to get myself better. But
Sure.
I would like so much like to see other people. Maybe you're not Parkinson's person.
Sure.
Affected by Parkinson's. Maybe you're just lazy.
Mm-hmm.
If I could encourage just anybody to go out to your local range, pick up a rental if you can. If you don't have a firearm, go to a local gun range, indoor range, check with them. They'll probably have rental guns and take lessons or whatever. Just get out and do something, even if it's not shooting, some kind of activity. That's why I'm really doing this, as a secondary thing. Primary to get myself better, keep myself sharp. But I'd love to see it.
I'm finding that as I get older, and this is exactly what you're saying, I think, is of course you want to get better, but service to others and service is becoming paramount in my life. It just feels good. It's soul-fulfilling. And leave religion and everything else out of it. It just feels good.
Yeah. And that's, with me, one of my things I just keep saying to myself is I'm in the happiest point of my life, but I'm in the worst health of my life. So it's kind of it's not the normal situation, but there again, it works. This is the way I am. And, the happiness part is okay.
Yeah.
It trumps all.
There you go. There you go. I like that attitude for sure. Well, is there any other subject you'd like to cover? Anything you'd like to say? Now's the time to kind of look at that camera and say it if we haven't covered it.
No, I mean I think we've covered about everything. If you want to look at Parkinson Shooter on Instagram, look and like my videos and photos, and just support the people that support me. Also, F1 Firearms, Adaball Optics, Rainier Munitions, and if you want to follow them on Instagram, Facebook, or any other social media, or reach out to them, buy a firearm, buy some bullets.
There you go.
And check out Adaball Optics. And, like I said, they're supporters of my therapy, and they really, that's one of those things I really train hard. And it's, multiple reasons, but, they gave me an opportunity, and I don't want to let them down.
Well,
so
just knowing you in a short time, I've known you. You're not going to let anybody down. That's for sure, including yourself.
Right.
So kudos to you on that for sure. You've got my honor, respect, and anything we can do. Hopefully this helps out. I appreciate it. And shout out to Kelly at Military Badassery for the introduction, of course.
That's right. By the way, thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Military Badassery and Brokers of Freedom.
Yeah, and that's on Instagram. Any other social media you're on, or Instagram's it, and then you push out from there, kind of a thing? Or?
Yeah, just there's no optics on the no sites on my phone, so it's just hard enough with Instagram. So no Facebook or anything.
Fair enough. So what do you say we wrap this up, and we'll get everything packed up, and we go fire off some rounds?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
I'm always ready for that.
All right, let me reach across on camera there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're done. We're wrapped up.
Awesome.
So, folks, we just recorded an hour podcast with my new best friend, David Smith, Shaky Dave, and we neglected to cover something that we had talked about and is very important that we make sure we cover. And what we'd like to talk about is Dave was relaying to me the importance of his early childhood and how he learned to shoot. And there's quite a story to that. So there's a history before he didn't just materialize as a F1 sponsored shooter. There was a life of that he had way before that travel in life, right? So we're going to talk about that for a minute, and you'll see a little change in the way the cameras are set up and the two cameras shoot, but we feel it's pretty important, so we're going to cover it, and we're just taking the time. That's just the way it is. So, Dave, what can you tell me? When did you start shooting?
Well, as early as I can remember, I had always shot, and it was, I can remember my first bicycle, but I can't remember my first gun.
Really?
So it was on a dove field. You know, I remember being on a dove field, and my dad would, shoot the birds down. I would go, finish them off.
Okay.
Up close.
All right.
It was pretty early. It was pretty early. My dad's influence on me was, and my mom, from early on,
So tell me, how did your dad influence you besides just shooting doves? Did he teach you to shoot? Did he take you out to the range? How did that work?
Yeah, well, we lived in Alabama, so it was a fishing, hunting atmosphere 24/7.
Sure.
So, everything was centered around just being, a good old country boy type, atmosphere, and growing up as such, just like he did. He grew up the same way, fishing and hunting. And so one day, we had already been on the dove field with him, deer hunting and everything. But at one point, we were fishing, and I caught a bigger fish than he caught. And he's like,
Uh-oh, that sounds like trouble already.
yeah. So he said, okay, well, you know enough about this. So he went out, and he really, changed the focus. Instead of, the fishing and the hunting and everything kind of combined, it was more, just here, let's do something different. So he went out and bought, black powders, black powder rifles, air rifles, all the different rifles that I was, influenced by when I was a kid. He at that point had, he went out and purchased and did what he needed to do. So,
And my understanding in our previous conversation is you got pretty good as a young man with a firearm. Is that correct?
yeah, I was shooting in a match. Probably, I think it was about 6 or 7 years old. Before that, him and his friend was out shooting, and they were shooting at a Velveeta can. It was, I guess everybody knows what a Velveeta can is. It's a little, can of food, small. And I had the last shot. They would always let me shoot the last shot. And I would just tug on their shirt tails till I got to shoot. But made the last shot, and from that point, because I hit the Velveeta can that they had been trying for 10, 15 rounds to hit. I pinwheeled it.
You were hooked, huh?
Yeah. And so that was when my dad formed a rifle team. I was shooting a competition like Red Ryder BB gun, competition Olympic sights on it, but it was the Red Ryder type, Daisy style BB gun. And so then from that, we did air rifle, pellet guns, competed in that all, and 22 long rifle competition, just single shot style bolt action. Through high school, shooting with ROTC up through high school, shooting. From there, started shooting long range, with 308 from hilltop to hilltop in the hills of Alabama, and shooting, up to 1,000 yards.
And 1,000 yards is a long ways, folks. 1,000 yards is not an easy shot.
Yeah.
So, I think what you're saying to me here is you were a pretty darn good shot as a youth, as a young man. Did you get away from shooting for a little while before you were diagnosed with Parkinson's?
Well, I shot, all through my childhood, and this is really what I want to emphasize. My dad was a big influence, in the shooting and shooting sports in general. You think about basketball, baseball, football, all of that, and you think of all the kids being a larger population in those shooting sports, at an early age. Okay. And you look at it now with shooting sports and our population of young shooters. This is out for all the junior shooters, young shooters that are thinking about, and parents of young shooters, getting them involved. We have a smaller group of them. Right. So, of course, when you get older, it's probably the only sport that starts out as a smaller population and then grows from there. But
okay, that's pretty interesting.
Another way to think about it, and the longevity of the sport, Right. So, but so that's kind of the way I look at it and the way I think about it. Wanted to emphasize, get your kids out shooting, at an early age. Maybe that will make them a better adult.
Well, let me jump in for a second. You found, I guess it'd be kind of like me finding baseball again, and I played as a youth and grew up. But what that does is it kind of ties in your whole life, and your whole life is kind of tying back into not necessarily a cure, but absolutely something that's benefiting you today.
Yeah, and the discipline, just learned discipline from that. That has everything to do with where I'm at today, and I want to put that, give my dad props on that, and my mom, because we were shooting inside at 5 meter with with a little Red Ryder BB gun, with my sister complaining all the time that I wouldn't let her out of her room. We were shooting into a box that had a tarp hanging down in the box, and would shoot it. That was our backstop. So that was at such an early age, and to have that put in there, with parents, my dad emphasizing that, incorporating that into everyday life. Not many people do that nowadays, shooting the house.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, we used to carry the BB guns around when I go down to my mother's farm, and I accidentally shot one off in the house and got in trouble for it. And you were encouraged. Yeah. And I'll go ahead and add this in. A big reason I'm doing these podcasts is I was influenced by my father. He told my brother and I a story late in his life that he didn't share from his World War II days. Right. And I met a bunch of veterans that were not sharing their stories until late. And so your story about your father helping you and the influence, I appreciate that. And that's been a big influence of why I'm here today. So there you go.
Well, I appreciate you adding that in, helping me add that in, because that was such a huge part of my life.
Well, that's perfect, and like you said, get the youth out there shooting and do it safely, and get training and take the right courses, and it's nothing to be afraid of. And the discipline that he learned as a young man is now helping him in life in so many ways. So I think that's a
Right.
pretty great thing.
Thank you.
Thanks again for being here.
Yeah, appreciate it.